So I think Pamela was an eligibility worker still when she came to talk to me about the senior art show. And she had this idea because she had been visiting clients and she had seen so many people who were impaired and isolated. But then as she saw people who were artists, she started to have this idea that there was strength that people had that doesn't get identified in an IHSS assessment. It's not really the focus of what we do, and yet it's who they are. It has to do with their art. So her idea was to take the strength side of our clients and highlight it in the senior art show. And it was such a creative idea. That we figured out a way to make it happen.
Wow.
Okay, so I had started working in home support services as an eligibility worker back in 1995.
Okay.
So, because I've worked there for 20 years. I was going out and seeing people's homes to do eligibility. At that time, eligibility workers went out and visited everybody. And I kept noticing all this art that was on the walls. And in particular, there were two gentlemen whose art I really noticed. One of them, Jean, who was in a wheelchair and he was on a breathing tube and he could only move his arm about 6 inches. And he had been in an accident, and after the accident he wanted to start doing something to give his life meaning, and he started going to the junior college and he started taking art classes. Like I said, he could only move his hand for 6 inches, and he made 2 pieces of art every year that were stunningly beautiful. And this art gave him hope and kept him alive. Artist client who, his name was William, and he would talk about art. He was probably about 85 years old, but he would talk about the colors in such a way that you would just realize, even though he wasn't doing it still, it totally fed him. I wanted to show their art because that was their strength. And it was hanging in their houses, but nobody got to see it, and that just seemed really sad.
Wow, that's cool.
You know, that they were creating it, but nobody would get to see it.
Yeah.
I was just so inspired by art all the time. But I thought there's got to be some way that we can show this to people. And at the time, Adult and Aging had Older Americans Month. Like the board of supervisor would come and talk to just a few people. It was a very small event. I went to Diane Kalja, who was the assistant director at that time, and I pitched this idea about having an art show for Older Americans Month, and told her about the different artists I was seeing and what effect art had on their lives, and she agreed. And then basically they kind of let me have at it. It was great. They kind of gave me a lot of leeway. I had a program analyst who was helping me, but I was the person who got to go and talk to all the senior centers about the show. I was the one who got to arrange for the art and figure out the call for entries and find the people who were going to be helping, the volunteers, and create it. So I mean, it was incredible. It was an incredible experience, and I'm so thankful for that, because I never really thought it was going to get this big. I kind of thought we were going to have some art. Didn't realize that it was going to end up with this. I just didn't realize it was going to end up something that was going to go for 20 years, and that the whole community would be involved in for all that time. I was just really focused on the present. Try it one time, see what happens. And it was so successful. People were so into it. And it became synergistic because the senior centers is where we get a lot of the art. And so then the teachers became involved, and the teachers would be teaching art, and the students would have something to reach for, something that they could have their art in. and then they would put their art in the art show. So it just kind of worked in this really lovely round way.
I think the first time we did it, we didn't envision it being an annual event, and then it became an annual event. It was like, okay, let's do it once. And after doing it the first time, then we decided it was an annual event. And so at that time, because it's only one day, so the weather's got to be great. So part of it was, is anybody going to come? We had the art, so we knew we'd have art. We had food. We knew we'd have food, but we just weren't really sure who was going to come to it. And so I think that was probably the anxiety around it. Is anybody coming?
And then what happened?
A lot of people came.
Really?
Yeah, it was really positive. We got great publicity.
Huh.
Yeah, it was really good.
What'd you think about the next day, the day after?
That it should have gone. It should have been able to hang for longer.
Wow, really?
One of the outgrowths of the senior art show is having senior art in our lobby.
Oh.
And I love that. I love that when people come into our lobby, and it's a rotating art that happens in there, but that people come into our lobby and they see senior art all year long. So that's an extension of the senior art show. That's something that we've done permanently that we didn't do before. It really speaks all year long to seniors' creativity, to the kind of beautiful work that seniors can do and vision that they have, and it's a strengths-based way of looking at who seniors are. And there's so much ageism in our culture that the perspective of a senior being creative and artistic and accomplished, those words don't usually get ascribed to seniors. And that's the thing that Pamela saw. Really back to the beginning. That's what she saw, is that the face of a disabled IHSS client who was homebound and had a lot of impairment really changes when you look at the art that they create. And it's a way to rethink who seniors are and who disabled seniors are, who frail seniors are, who poor seniors are. That they also have a lot of things to give. And that's just not our culture's perception of older people.
Different kinds of venues, galleries, and such. It's either a hard process to get in, or you have to pay a bit of money to have your work actually exhibited. So that's a hard thing for senior artists. They don't have that much money to be able to put towards that. So many people have told me that they've been inspired by the art show, that they go to the art show, they see this art, they read the biographies, because we have a biography for each piece, and they're like, well, if they can do this, I can do this. And then they start taking the classes at the different senior centers, and then the next thing you know, they have their art in the senior center, and then they have their art at in the County of Sonoma Fair. And some of them, there's this one woman, she started off as a fabric artist, and she's internationally exhibited now over in Europe.
Wow.
But she started with the senior art show.
Shut up!
I know, isn't that pretty cool? We were one of the first places that she exhibited. First off, I feel really honored to be able to do it. And I've gotten to use skills that I wouldn't have been able to use as an eligibility worker or a social worker. So I know all these artists, some of them I've known for 20 years, and to see them grow has been really rewarding. It's like they're kind of, some of them have been, family's too strong of a word, but when I'm there, I've known them for a really long time. Seen all the development. And I know a little bit about their lives and, sad things that have happened and happy things that have happened. And they've also just been an inspiration for growing older. All of the people who are in the art show inspire you to do that, and they also inspire me to be resilient, because some of them have had big physical obstacles, and yet they still keep going for their art, and they still, they have joy in the world. They have joy that comes from creating, and that's really inspiring to see.
Find out. But we got an award from the National Area Agencies on Aging Association for the Senior Art Show, and it was in San Francisco. And so Pamela came, and she brought her mom, and it was just a wonderful recognition of the work that we've done here in Sonoma County. So we got this national award for doing something really creative.
Yeah.
That came from one of our staff people thinking about something that, hey, wouldn't this be a great opportunity for us?
Right.
And it's turned in 18 years later to something I think defines adult and aging services.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful testament to creativity.
Yeah.
Because she's just has held the vision for this and expanded the vision for it every single year. And she's really done it. She's done it with a group, but she has been the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really taken so much of her personal investment, and that's made a tremendous difference. Every year she's able to really talk about the art and the artists, and she'll come and tell me what her favorite pieces are, and she knows the artists, and she works at getting the demonstrators there, and just so much personal investment in it.
Yeah.
I think for our division, that's so important.
Yeah.
There's something that we get to work on together that's creative and outside of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Passing the torch
Mm-hmm.
is exactly what's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know that the art show is really a part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I am sorry to lose Pamela's personal passion because it makes such a difference to us. It's the thing that engages us every single year when she gets up at our staff meeting and starts talking about it. And when she talks about it and talks about the different artists, and it really is the piece that I think gives it its momentum. However, to pass the torch means it's going to continue, it's going to grow, it's going to become something different.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be there to do a little bit of guidance, but I think that's the best thing that can happen is that it's not dependent on Pamela.
Mm-hmm.
It's its own thing that she made,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to continue. She's so much of it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's created a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's created this art show legacy for adult and aging and for Sonoma County.
For Sonoma County.
I'm going to have more of a chance just to be able to explore art, which I have, you know, when you work full time, you don't really have a lot of time or energy because I also dance, and really that's become more of my focal point is the partner dancing. But it'll give me an opportunity to take some of these classes. I know the instructors at the senior centers and through the Santa Rosa Junior College, and they're like, okay, well, you're not going to be coordinating the show anymore, so that means we need to get your art in, we need to get you doing art, and it's kind of exciting to be able to use a different part of my brain and not be so policy and procedure oriented. You know, like when I did these sculptures up there, it's very rewarding because you get to create something.
Mm.
And that's not something that you get to do every day, is to create something that's just yours. Like you feel like with sculpture in particular, it's almost like you can feel like you're really making a person because you have your hands in the clay and you're making it move.
Mm-hmm.
And
feel
I feel like, God, it sounds so cheesy. It's like love. You know, I know that sounds so cheesy. I feel so good. Like, you know those moments when you're in the flow and you feel like your life is the way it's supposed to be? That's how I feel about the art show. I love every minute of it. I like putting the art up. I like seeing all the artists. I like all the volunteers coming and helping. The cookies, talking to the people. It just feels so good to see all these people meeting each other. I love it when people meet each other, and it's like pure joy. That's what it is.
Cool.
I feel like pure joy during that time.
That's good.
Yeah.
How do you feel when it's over?
Well, I was just thinking, I'm going to miss that.
Oh.
Because Rhiannon and Perry are taking over. And I just really trust that both of them are going to do a really good job, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. It's going to be different than what I've done. And I'm excited to see what they do. Mm-hmm. It used to be at the Vets building. Now it's at the Finley Center, and it's up for 2 months. It's been kind of set this way. They might change it up. Mm-hmm. And that would be kind of fun to see what they do. Well, it would be. I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
Yeah. You can also enter your art.
Yes, because I'm going to be 60. Thank you.
Just say, that's exciting.
Oh, that is exciting. Actually, it's not just mine. It really belongs to adult and aging. And that just becomes more and more apparent every year.
Cool. Are you proud of yourself?
Oh, God, yeah. I have a legacy. That sounds so weird to say, but It's like I created something and I didn't think, it's like you have an idea. I mean, that really what it shows you is that if you have an idea, to trust your gut and try to go for that idea and see what happens. Because it was an idea and someone could have said no. Diane could have said no. And the world would have been different for me and for a lot of people. But she said yes. So we went forward. It makes me think, well, who knows what I'll do next, too. Like, will I have an idea and then that idea will be built upon? I don't know. It kind of makes you, like, if you can create it one time.
Right, absolutely.
Then there's really no reason why you can't do it again.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. One of the important things I think about this show for Adult and Aging is that we often work with people who can't. It's all about what they can't do anymore. They can't walk, or they can't use their hands, or they can't make really basic things: breakfast, lunch, dinner. They need help in the bathroom or taking a shower. And yet, some of those people can also still do art. And so it's about what they can do, and that's the important thing for me. Is that it gives an opportunity for adult and aging staff also to look at the positive aspects of aging, because we don't really get to see that very much. We're always looking at how things have gone wrong, so to speak, or how we can help. But with art, that's something the person does. They carry that inside and they do it themselves. See, that aging doesn't have to be necessarily painful or hard, or kind of balances out the pretty heavy work that adult and aging can do a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why staff has embraced it so much, because it's a feel-good thing. It's like, oh, because some of the artists are our clients, and you can know certain things about that person, but then you can also know that they can create this art, and it kind of gives you hope for finding happiness in very difficult situations. So it shows resilience.
Yeah.
That's marvelous.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Together we are unstoppable. It's 2012, and this true story happened.